Okay, so it looks like we got one from Dana. Dana, is there a car air cleaner which will do VOC, mold, benzene, gases, etc.? I have 3 Air Doctor cleaners, but I'm still dealing with continued need in my car, driving a lot. Get with your dealer, because there's generally, when you run your AC unit in your car, one of the problems is the vapor barrier and the moisture buildup, and you can get finer filters through your dealer, depending on what kind of car you have. But that's where I would start, because they make them that actually fit your air intake. And so I would go in. The question that I would have, depending on your make and model of your cars, do you guys carry an ultra fine HEPA type filter that we can affix inside the car? Because that will do it. That would do the trick. Let's see here. Dana, will neurotoxin binding, mycotoxin binding often potentially increase neurological symptoms? It can. So yeah, if you're doing like a neurotoxin or a mycotoxin protocol where you're taking some type of supplemental that binds those things and tries to remove them, yes, it can increase your neurological symptoms. But you should, in my opinion, you shouldn't be doing that alone. If you're not working with an expert, a functional medicine expert who knows about detoxification, I wouldn't recommend doing it by yourself. Okay, let's see here. Margie says, you're not appearing in my Facebook anymore. What happened? Found you on YouTube 10 minutes ago. We actually should be on your Facebook feed, Margie, but the problem is that, Facebook is starting to filter information like this. I don't know if you've seen it in your feed, but a lot of what we're seeing now is they're filtering out natural health news more and more and more. So it might not be appearing in your feed for that reason. I can't say for certain, but that's what I would suspect. So your best thing that you can do if you want to make sure you don't miss future shows is sign up for our newsletter, number one, and then go to our YouTube channel and hit the subscribe button. Because if you hit that subscribe and then click that bell, you'll get a notification every time we're getting ready to go live. And that will make it so that you don't miss out next time. How close do we have to be to a freeway to be considered close? If you can hear the cars, you're close. Hopefully that answer helps you. Let's see here. Yeah, you're right, Angie. We're being poisoned into ill care as fast as they can take us. So you got to protect yourself. I mean, get educated and protect yourself. Do I like Dyson air cleaners? No, not in particular. I like Dyson vacuum cleaners, but not so much air cleaners. I'll talk about the Air Doctor in just a minute. Is one of the best that you can buy. That's a plug-in unit that you can move from room to room, but it's one of the best on the market. Yeah, Diandra says, I'm glad you explained HEPA filter. I've not understood the reason why I have to clean the air. Now it makes sense. Well, you're welcome. Is it overkill to have a central AC filter and a standalone filter in your room? No, I do. Because there's no overkill when you're trying to pull pollutants that are toxic, to your body out of the air. So, like my house, personal home, we have ultrafine HEPA in the main air duct, meaning that as the air is being pulled into the house and being piped through the rest of the house, we have ultrafine in the air duct, but we also have standalone units in certain areas that tend to have a greater risk for pollutants. Let's see. Okay, I like these. These are some good ones. So any recommendations for bronchiectasis as far as filtering a central AC? Let's see, that question's cutting off. And furnace. If you're talking about a central unit, so if you're looking for something that's not a standalone unit, but like that goes into the main unit itself, there are a couple of different brands that I really like that have great ratings and that do a good job. One is called IQ Air, and the other one is called Pure Air. And both of those are great if you're going to attach a central filter to your main air system, and that's usually in the attic. Okay. Let's see. Are ion purifiers any good? So again, this has ionization to it, but ionic filtration by itself, ionic filtration is not a filter. Ionic clumps particulate together and drops it to the floor easier, or if you have a good filter, clumps it together so that filter can trap that clump a little bit easier. But as far as like a standalone, an ionizer without anything else, I don't recommend spending your money on something that's only an air ionization device. Let's see. Can you talk more about how to find out if your house has mold? I live in a house built in 1925, and I'm pretty sure there's been some basement leaking in this house's life. Look, the best thing that you can do, because this is very complex, Mail. This is it's mold. Finding mold is such a complex issue. You've got to do the right testing in the home. But then you also should do the right testing in the individual, because just because a home might have some mold doesn't mean that you need to necessarily move out of it. Some mold species are dangerous and some mold species are not quite as dangerous. And some people are allergic to some of the mold species that aren't dangerous, but because they're allergic to them, they are dangerous. You see what I'm saying? So like, this is more complex than just, okay, does my house have mold? It's number one, does my house have mold? If the answer is yes, what species of mold are there? If the answer is, a certain quantity or certain distribution of different mold species. And the next question is, are any of these mold species toxic to humans, like Stachybotrys, for example, or there are other species like Wallemia, which is a toxic mold that can contribute to problems, or Aspergillus penicilloides can cause problems in humans. So is it a human disease causing mold species? Now we're talking the potential for remediation. If it's not a species of mold, like a general Cladosporium mold, they're generally pretty safe and non-caustic to humans, but some people are allergic to Cladosporium. So running the right test on yourself to determine whether or not you have mold allergy becomes important, because if your house has mold, but the mold is not dangerous to humans, but you're allergic to mold, then it is dangerous to you. And so that, again, all that requires specialized, individualized testing. So there's not just like one test or one company that I recommend that you call. What I really recommend that you do is get with a good functional medicine practitioner if you want to figure that out, that where you can run the different types or layers of testing that can get you a very, very specific answer. Okay, let's see here. A negative ionizer is fantastic for health. It is why people feel so. That's not a question. What about companies that do air duct cleaning? Is that necessary, or will the air filter cover what's needed? Yes and no. Depends on when you're putting the air filter in. Like if you're putting in the air filter and your house is new and your ducts are new, then yeah, it's going to pull a lot of that out of your air and help protect your air ducts. If your house is 25 years old and you're just now for the first time putting an air filter in, then it just depends on the cleanliness of your current duct and the dust, the quantity of dust particulate that's accumulated over that time. So, depends on the age of your air ducts more than anything else. Let's see. Margie says, my apartment windows have mold that I cannot get rid of. Also bedroom closet wall. Do you know of an essential oil to kill it? You're not going to kill that. You've got to get to the source of where it's coming from. Using vinegar is not going to do the trick, and using an essential oil is not going to do the trick. You've got to find out why that mold is happening. So like if it's around the window, you've got a window issue. You probably have a leak. Something maybe in the outside of the house that's allowing water to penetrate into that window to create mold around it. Same thing in your closet. If you've got mold growing on your closet wall, there's probably some type of moisture issue behind the wall. And that could be a slow pipe leak. That could be a number of different things. And so you don't want to just apply essential oils and vinegar and hope that you do the best. It's kind of like some of these like handymen when they come in and they paint over the mold with like a primer. That's not going to kill the mold. It's only going to cover it up temporarily until it grows back over the primer. It's the same thing. Essential oils are not going to kill that mold. You've got to get to the source of the mold and remove it. And if that source is a leaking pipe behind your wall that's creating mold growth in your sheetrock that shows up on the surface of your closet wall, then you're going to have to cut that wall and look behind it and make sure that what's going on behind it is not something that's contributing to this problem. Let's see here. I was diagnosed with bronchiectasis and live in Colorado where radon is high. What kind of filtration do you recommend? I'd recommend an air doctor, but I'd also recommend testing the level of radon in your home. Because you may live in an area where radon's high. Natural emission of radon can be high in certain areas, especially heavy rock areas, but test your home. You may not need a special type of filter, and you can have radon gas tests done for your home to determine whether or not you need to go any further or any deeper. Let's see, Pam, I have mold in my attic with electric baseboard heating. The attic isn't airtight, sealed from the house. Will the mycotoxins get down in my house? Yeah, they will. especially if you don't have an airtight seal. That mold will get down. And if you've got mold growing in your attic, then the likelihood that mold could potentiate and get into your air vents and your air ducts and then spread all throughout your house is very, very high. So that can create a major problem. So you definitely want to jump into getting that fixed, getting that air, that attic sealed a little bit more effectively. How many outdoor plants should we have in a room for filtration? There's not an exact number. Remember, nobody, I don't think, has ever done a study that says having 4 house plants versus having 2 house plants is X more effective. At least not that I know of. I mean, I could be wrong. But I think, strategically putting a nice house plant in different rooms of the house is a good place to start. It's not going to solve dirty air problems, but it's going to be something you can do that naturally contributes to cleaner air in your home. Okay, let's see here. Do you believe, Mary wants to know, do I believe in essential oil diffusing is safe in small spaces? I left my job because my boss insisted on my running a constant stream of these oils in the lobby to keep the odor of our elderly people down. It was not only cruel, but it made me feel sick every day. This was her remedy to not spraying me with chemicals several times a day to keep our lobby fresh. It depends. I mean, that's a tough one. Look, essential oils, just because they're essential oils doesn't mean that people can't be allergic to them and it can't make a person feel sick. I get people all the time, for example, who are allergic to peppermint. So diffusing a peppermint oil in that scenario would be a bad idea for that person. I get people who are allergic to lemon. Diffusing, lemon oil would be a bad idea for that person. So you kind of have to think about it in terms of individuality. I generally don't recommend just broad application of something when you have multiple people around that all have the potential for multiple problems. So don't know if that was helpful for you, but that's kind of the way it goes. Catherine says, every time I open the windows to air out the house, I end up having worsening of my asthma and migraines for a day or two. Any suggestions for lessening the impact of open windows? I already monitor the local air quality and only try doing this on days when the quality is considered good. I also wash all linens from near those open windows. So this might be, Catherine, this might be something where you're reacting to something outside. If you haven't had some aggressive allergy testing for external environmental allergens, it might be a good idea. And the reason why, certain mold spores, certain pollen counts are higher at different times of the year. And if you're specifically allergic to certain ones, then you can time your airing out of your home around times where those pollen counts or those dust external outside counts are lower, and that might minimize your exposure. The other thing that you can do, I talked about this last week, is you can use something called HistAssist. Now, HistAssist is a product. It's a formula. It's a mixture of quercetin and bioflavonoids and N-acetylcysteine. And what it does is it stabilizes your mast cells to kind of minimize the potential for an allergic response, which is what it sounds like you're having. So taking that in higher doses on days where you might do this might offer some support for your immune system to kind of minimize the potential for that symptom. Mary wants to know, can I be tested for former chemical exposure? Yes, you can. You can be tested for former chemical exposure, but you have to have the right type of testing done. And there are a number of different tests, depending on what you're trying to test for, they can help out with that answer. What indoor air filtration will filter benzene? So benzene gases, we're talking about Air Doctor. And again, I'll put that link up for you guys. Actually, we can pull that mail from Gluten Free Society if you can pull the link there and then just post that up for everybody so that they can get access to that discount. Because I want to make sure that they don't use a standard link and not get the discount. Let's see. Ken wants to know, will glutathione detox benzene? Let's see. Lost the question. Where'd it go? There it is. Will glutathione detox benzene, or what does? Now, glutathione can help to basically convert it and detoxify it. So there's really a couple of different steps here. One is through the liver, and glutathione is that major detoxification pathway. But once it converts it from a from one form to its kind of more water soluble form, then it's up to the kidneys. It's up to the kidneys to excrete it. So, but glutathione will help in that process. Okay, let's see here. What's a good way to test indoor air quality? Professional or hand meter? I always like to hire a professional if I'm really trying to get an answer, especially if you're struggling with some kind of health issue. Some of these home test kits and meters are, depending on how much you spend, sometimes there's the old saying, you get what you pay for, and some of them are not super accurate and can give you misleading information. And sometimes it's what you don't know. So like the old saying, you don't know what you don't know. So like there are certain meters that can detect certain things, but not other certain things. So hiring a professional kind of gives you a distinct advantage. It just allows you to take advantage of that person's expertise and truly determine what kind of air quality that you're dealing with and whether or not it's contributing to your illness. Can activated carbon fight mycotoxins from mold behind walls? No, mycotoxins they're not fought. They're not alive. What it can do is as a filtering device, it can help to filter them out of your air. But mycotoxins aren't living substances. You don't fight them. You don't kill them. They're poison. And so they're actually, mycotoxins are a form of VOC. They're a form of volatile organic compound. You can't kill that. You can only filter it out. And you don't want your lung or your body to be that filter. See, if you don't filter your air with some other filter device, then you yourself become the filter. And you don't want that, because then that all those chemicals accumulate inside of you, and again, can contribute to autoimmunity and other health issues. How many air filters should you have in your home? Depends on the size of your home, Suzanne. The more square footage you have, the more filtration that you should have in place as well. And that also, if you're going and doing something like installing a filter in the main unit. So like if you have in your attic, let's say you have 2 air conditioners and you've got 2 different units in your attic, you can install one on each unit, and that will cover your whole home. You won't need plug-in units. But if you don't have that type of setup, or if you want to have a plug-in unit, it just depends on the square footage of your home. My advice would be 1 unit for about every 1,800 square feet. If you're looking at the Air Doctor, about that should be adequate to give you a decent filtration. About once every hour and a half, you're going to get good filtration, or not once every hour and a half, but 1.5 times every hour is how that filter will work for you. Where do you get, not histocene, Laurie, but it's Hist Assist. And you get that at Gluten Free Society. We may be able to put that link up for you in the feed. Give me just a minute. We're working on that. From my experience, is there a correlation between toxic air and eczema? Yes. Remember we said your body has 4 primary filters, right? Your liver, your kidney, and your lungs, and your skin, right? And so if your other filters, if your lungs are overwhelmed, if your kidney and your liver are overwhelmed, your skin will become a greater filter, and you're going to see more and more things showing up in your skin in terms of inflammation. Very, very, very common. Let's see. Phil says, my grandma was recommended to treat her asthma and eczema by doing gardening. Do the soil microbes that are touched and breathed in have a major influence on inflammation? Yes, they can. As a matter of fact, those soil microorganisms can be very, very beneficial. Now, where it might be bad advice for your grandma would be if she has, let's just say, heavy mold contamination in her dirt, right? And then if she's allergic to mold, that might not be the best solution for her. But generally speaking, gardening is fairly safe for most people. And to get outside and to get outdoors and get, again, get a lower volume of air concentration, but also be exposed to those microbes is not a bad idea as an overall piece of advice. Okay. Looks like we're out of time, folks. If I didn't get to your question, I apologize. Maybe we can get to it next time. Make sure you tune in next Monday, 6 p.m. Central Standard Time. If you didn't get the notice, remember, we keep saying it, but we are being filtered. This information, whether it's the powers that be that are blocking us, I don't know. I can't tell you directly, but I can tell you that many people that have signed up on our Facebook, they're not getting our feed very accurately. So the best way to get our information is subscribe to our channel. Second best way to get our information, make sure you subscribe to our newsletter. Go over to glutenfreesociety.org and give us your name and email, and we'll hook you up with some great resources, but also send you reminder emails before the show every Monday at 6 p.m. We'll also send you reminder emails about video updates throughout the week. We do about 7 video updates a week. So if you want to get more health information that you can trust, and you want to get more information about the gluten grain-free lifestyle that you can trust, make sure you subscribe. So, wish you excellent health. We'll see you next week, same time, same channel. Have a great week. Hey, if you've got a functional medicine or health question that you'd like me to answer for you, make sure you send me an email, glutenology@gmail.com, and we'll do our best to create a video answer just for you. Have a great day.